Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Oh my gosh. You are all in for such a treat today. We have Donna Cravotta from the Cravotta Media Group here. And let me just cut to the chase. I'm going to read an official bio here in just a minute. But I have to tell you, in addition to being my birthday sister and a creative genius, she is ridiculously funny and brilliant. So everybody get ready, get your notepads out and your pens because Donna is here.
In the
So
house.
welcome, everybody. My name is Susie deVille, and I am the founder and CEO of the Innovation and Creativity Institute. And I help entrepreneurs build exceptional, aligned enterprises. And my first book, which will be due out on September 6th, is called Buoyant: The Entrepreneur's Guide to Becoming Wildly Successful, Creative, and Free. So, welcome, Miss Donna. How
Well,
are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm delighted that you're here. Donna and I were just talking about France before we went live, and we were talking about all the things that Taurus women love: beauty, great food, art, nature, having a lot of fun. So we went right into a deep conversation. But I'm so honored that you're here, Donna. And I'm going to jump in and read your bio so everybody can learn a little bit more about you and what you're up to now, which has changed a little bit.
A little bit.
So, Donna Cravotta is the CEO and founder of Cravotta Media Group and the creator of visibility packages for authors and speakers. She works exclusively with authors and speakers to help them tell their stories in a strategic and organic way. In years of working in marketing, Donna saw again and again that many content creators had to scramble to create what was needed for them to be media ready. So Donna shifted her offerings to focus solely on empowering speakers and authors so they are ready to land next level opportunities and make a bigger impact. These done for you marketing assets include speaker and book reels, as well as the mixtape reel, which tells the brand story. Plus, clients have the choice of a bookmark, postcard, speaker marketing kit, or book marketing kit. Donna says you never know who will hear your story exactly when they need to. Don't you want to be prepared to make the impact you know you can? So, once again, welcome. So, I want to start, Donna. I want to hear a little bit more about your recent shift in your focus with the work that you're doing in the creative world and why you made that choice.
I have worked with all kinds of clients. I mean, from funeral directors to strippers and everything in between. And many of them were speakers and authors. And I've had my own business now for going on 16 years. And I really always focused on the strategy. I always focused on fighting the uphill battle of trying to teach people and convince people that they had to own their own voice online, that they had to be involved with their voice in social media, that they just needed to be part of it. It's not something that you can say, here, do this for me, because it's your voice, it's who you are, it's what you do. And I focused on the strategy, building the foundations, implementing the strategies that I created. And it burnt me out. I was exhausted. I worked with a couple of big clients that were wonderful, but very demanding. And, I slowly turned into the one woman marketing department, and I was shot. I was absolutely shot. And I was doing all of this work, and I wasn't even charging for it because it was just what needed to be done, because either the clients didn't have it or what they had was so bad I couldn't use it.
Yes.
So, it wouldn't hold the strategies that I was creating for them. So, as I was kind of reinventing, like thinking through and going through everything I was doing, I had this space in between clients, which is rare. And I said, okay, I'm just going to stop for a bit. I said no to a good amount of work. which isn't always easy to do. And I dissected everything. And I was like, there's got to be an easier way to do what I'm doing. And I started going through everything that I was doing, and I realized what I was creating in Canva, which is, a inexpensive, easy to use tool. And I said, well, what if I flipped this? And instead of leading with the strategy, I led with the assets that nobody has and built the strategy into it on the back end. So, what I was providing had all of that strategy built in, and created and provided something that would open the doors to opportunities. And what has been so surprising, because I'm about 2 months into it now, and I've slowed my roll. I was like, oh, this will be done in 3 days, right? But I've slowed my roll. I've taken a little time off. I went away. I spent time with friends. I spent time with my son, and I spent time with this new baby I'm creating, and a handful of clients, just to kind of like work out the kinks and see where it is. But I really gave myself the opportunity to see it in a different light. I was always like push, 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 push. And it's been fascinating because three things that are happening that I didn't anticipate. One is the level of confidence that is happening. Like, it's almost like a transformational confidence that's happening with my clients, because they're seeing themselves through my eyes. It's their story. I'm not changing their story, but I'm putting in things that they just overlooked or didn't think about or forgot about. And I'm putting these things in, and they're seeing themselves in an entirely different light, and they're going for bigger opportunities. And the other thing is empowerment. It's much easier to delegate, because now you have everything wrapped up in a pretty box, and you could say, here, help me pitch for podcasts and speaking opportunities and media opportunities, or whatever it might be, because everything's changed now, so there are opportunities everywhere. And then the third thing is being able to repurpose the content. I create everything in Canva. It's really easy to use. It's a $12 a month investment. And one client that I worked with took the layout that I used for her video, and she up leveled all three of her presentations that she gives in her talks. And she took the file that I was working on, and she resized it and turned it into 40 social media posts.
Wow.
So now it's like speaking directly to her audience. She's empowered in telling her story, and she's getting help, because instead of saying like, book me on these podcasts, she's saying to somebody, help me get booked on these podcasts, and here's everything you need to do it. So it's fascinating to see like how much more this is than I thought it would be.
There's so much about what you have said that I want to talk about, but I think the key to what you have said in terms of most authors and speakers with whom I work, and those who I know as friends and so forth and colleagues, is this stuck place that we can get into. And in my book, I call it the stagnation zone. We can get into a stuck place when we're not sure about details of things. How do I create this? How do I do the tech part? What are the little minute details? And that tends to water down our focus and our clarity as well as our confidence. So you come in with your solutions, and you take all of that off the table and free authors and speakers to step into their genius in a brand new way and have a visibility that has a technicolor, almost rich flavor to it, because they are seated fully in their messaging and they're confident in all of the marketing assets.
Yeah.
So I'm thrilled to pieces that this exists. And I know a lot of authors and speakers will be relieved and clamoring to get in touch with you. So
So
tell me a little bit about the ideal clients that you work with, and what problems do you help them solve? What are you seeing come up so far with the folks with whom you're working?
I speakers and authors is like the big umbrella, but the people that I really love to work with are the people that are making some kind of difference, some kind of impact, and they're working their passion. And they want to make a bigger impact in the world. Um, One of the things that I've always been passionate about in my work is about keeping things small. I never got involved with doing ads online or anything like that. It was always about listening and going deeper, knowing your audience, knowing their values, aligning your values, knowing who you support, why you support them, and what you could do for them. And until you know those three things, there's always going to be gaps, because those are the things that's the mortar that holds it all together. And that's what makes that connection real, that connection that is happening under the surface. And what I try to do is create that into everything that I build in my work. So that's kind of like the underlying strategy that I'm building in, plus some technical things too. Like I'm Googling and I'm SEOing and I'm, the words that I'm putting in because I write the scripts for these videos. I send out my process just as an overview, a massive questionnaire, and I take the information from that questionnaire. And this is no different from what I did in the strategy side of my business. I ask you way too many questions. And then my favorite thing ever in all of the work I've done in all of the years is to sit with that completed questionnaire and just think about the possibilities and the opportunities that are out there and how I'm going to find the inroads to connect my client with those opportunities and those possibilities. And now instead of, having it be this big giant strategy that requires a lot of work to implement, I'm building that into these assets that are fun and easy to use. And a fun story that was also involved with my change in business was I had a fiction author as a client a couple of months ago, and I'd not worked with a fiction author in a long time. So I created the strategy for her. She loved it. She got it, but she was just like, oh, that's nice. Then I created a bookmark for her. It took me 10 minutes to create. She had them printed and she sent me a picture of her skipping down the street holding this bookmark. And when I saw that, I was like, I want skipping. I want more skipping. I want people to
Yes.
skip when I deliver my work. I don't want them to hold their head. Oh my God, how am I going to do this? So um, I want to create this mix of having it be fun, having it be eye-opening, and having it be easy to connect with those opportunities that are there. I mean, the online world has gotten so complex and messy and loud and sometimes really obnoxious. And I want people to have the assets that they need to be able to bypass all of that and just do the work that, connect with the people that will help them make a bigger impact with the work that they love.
Well, I love that story. I can completely relate to that. That would have been me skipping down the street with a paper product in my hand. But there's something magical about the tangible product
Yeah.
and the analog world, which has gotten so lost in our digital world. And I love technology and I love digital applications. And I know how much we can leverage our work and our voice and our vision in the world with all of those wonderful tools. And I'm a big fan of paper.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of our clients, too, those who are reading our works, those who are coming to our presentations and our speeches, are seeking that same kind of tactile, warm experience that
Yeah.
translates through the physical thing. So I love that you're including that in the work that you're doing. I'm curious, why do you think so many authors and speakers are struggling with telling their story and marketing in general? I mean, I know for a fact that every author group that I'm in, everybody loves the writing part, everybody loves the creating part, not so much on the marketing end of things. So, why do you think that is? Storytelling being a challenge and marketing in general?
I think a big part of it is like there's a couple of things, but a big part is like once you finish your book, you've been through all of that. It's a birth. It's an enormous process. It's so much more than anybody ever anticipates it's going to be. And
Hallelujah.
when I see these things like, oh yeah, write a book in a weekend, I'm like, okay,
No.
that's a sweet idea.
Right.
It ain't happening. And like I've advised so many people over the years, like I've had people reach out to me and say, "Oh, I'm not even done writing my book. I don't have an editor, and I want to um, I want to launch in 6 weeks with like 30 launch partners." And I'm like put that out a year. And then maybe we could have a conversation, but you're not there yet. And I think what happens is once you go through that process, you're exhausted.
Mhm.
That's like having to go back to work after you had a baby 6 weeks, 6 weeks after you've had a baby. It's just not realistic. And they just lose, they need a break.
Mhm.
That's one part. The other part is they're looking at what's next. So they're not looking behind at what they already have.
Ah,
So,
so
yeah,
true.
and they're not marketing the process. So when you're writing the book, if you're marketing throughout that whole process, you've got all of this behind the scenes golden nuggets that people will connect with. And this way, by the time you publish your book, you've got an engaged audience that and they're part of the process, so they're invested in your book. So why would they not spend 15 or 20 or $25 on your book if they've been with you for the last 7 or 8 or 9 months while you've been sharing the process with them?
Mhm.
And all of that makes such rich marketing materials to share
Mhm.
online. And they miss parts of their own story because they're so immersed in putting all of these pieces together. They think um, that things that are really relevant to their story that will help them connect with the right people, they either forget about them or they bypass them because they don't think they're relevant. And one of the things that I've gotten really good at doing over the years is finding those little pieces and building the story into it, or building it into the story, I should say. One of the clients that I'm working with now, she has a husband who's he had a liver transplant. I'm sorry, a liver transplant 20 years ago, and he's high risk and will be high risk for the rest of his life because COVID doesn't look like it's going away. But she cannot get on a plane. She cannot go into a room with hundreds of people because she can't risk bringing that home to him.
Right.
So she wants to continue speaking, but do it virtually. So she was viewing this as a negative. She was like, I'm going to have this conversation over and over again. People aren't going to want to hire me. They're going to want people on stages. And she was really stressed out about this. And I said, well, what if we flip the story? What if we talked about your relationship with your husband and, what a wonderful relationship you've had for 35 years and how you want to keep him around? And he's got this health issue, and this is why you're a virtual speaker. And what if we built that into the story so you never have to have that conversation? And the people that aren't interested in virtual speakers just fall away because it's not a good fit. So you can actually put that out front, and the people that want virtual speakers will connect with you. And she was so relieved.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh my gosh. So I want to talk about a couple of things that you mentioned. One is this um, tendency that we have. I'm in this boat with everybody else. I will fully admit this. We want to gallop from one creative project to another one. And as you point out, the book writing process is not like anything else you've ever done in your life. It
No.
has unique tendrils and tasks and requirements of your energy and your brain and your spirit that are not like anything else you've ever done. And it's surprising how long the process is. And you feel like you turn it back over to an editor, and then there's 30 more things that has to be done to it.
Yeah, while they're ripping out your heart.
And it's well, I mean, it's actually the process that I have gone through has been so loving and so
Mhm.
fantastic. but you get to the point where you've seen the material so much, you kind of just want to let it go. Um, but at the same time, we're in this world of you have to be out there being your own influencer for your own
Mhm.
work. And lots of us don't know how to do that effectively. But the trap that we fall into, as you point out, is that we leave this very intense process that has been completely taxing and joyful and want to leap into this other project. And there's no buffer time between the two. And we're asking for a different part of our brain now to step to the fore too fast. And in that confusion and exhaustion, we forget the key elements of who we are that are so sexy and attractive to the ideal market that we're trying to serve. All the
Mhm.
points that are in our book, for example, the things that we wrote about, the reasons why we became an author in the first place, or the reason why we became a speaker in the first place. We just race toward the marketing barn and lose sight of what it is that's compelling and unique about us. So, where you come in is that you have this incredible ability to help people see what feels just out of reach for them and put it into language and put it into specific kinds of storytelling that aligns with the client and the folks with whom they are trying to connect. So it's such a needed process, and it's such a humane way to help a creator leave this sort of crucible of creating and enter into this standing on the edge of the cliff, flapping your wings, hoping that you get some air, and take off. So I want to talk with you a little bit now about why it is that you think that we humans tend to want to shrink back or hide out, because in addition to this challenge of leaving a big project and moving into marketing without our stories, or without really knowing what it is about our stories that are compelling. But there's also this part of us that shrinks back from being forward in front of our work, or on the stage of public opinion. So why do you think that is for some of us?
You're terrified because it's an incredibly vulnerable experience to write a book. You're sharing things that you probably never even shared with yourself as you're going through the process. You're uncovering parts of yourself. I mean, there's trauma work involved in writing a book. And when it's finished, you realize, oh my God, anybody could go online. Like somebody could buy this for $15 on Amazon, or, a bookshelf, or like wherever, like, 15 different sites. Like this could be all over the world in like 10 minutes. And it's terrifying because it's your soul. It's
Mhm,
everything. It's what happened to you when you were 4. And I mean, you might not be sharing that exact story, but it's built into the fabric of what
mhm,
you've written. And the other part is you don't know the impact it will have. You can't control that. Then you have to let go. You have to you've controlled this story first within yourself, and then within the process of writing the book. So now it's just out there, and it's like it's just beyond ripping the Band-Aid off. It's like somebody ripped the skin off of you, you know? And you're just, you're terrified, and like,
yeah.
all you need, I mean, you can have 800,000 people telling you how wonderful it is, and you just need one person not liking your font, and that's enough to tell you how much you suck.
That is
And
so true.
it's very scary, and it's working through that vulnerability piece of, realizing that once you put your story out into the world in that fashion, it's no longer yours individually, solely. It's yours to share with the world.
And I completely resonate with everything you just said about the Band-Aid in the skin and the unique thrill that there is as an author to not know how it's going to land. The
Mhm,
way that I think about it and talk about it is that you've rolled up a scroll and then you've tapped it into this bottle and you put a cork in it and you chuck it into the ocean and you have no idea where it's going to land. You have no idea who's going to pick it up. You have no idea how they're going to read the message or what, if any, impact it's going to have on them. And that is really fun. That
mhm,
is exciting to me. Of course, we don't want haters and we don't want trolls and we don't want people to be mean and ugly to us. Um, but I think what far outweighs that fear and potential reality sometimes is this incredible connection with people. I may never know the vast majority of the people who come into contact with my work. Most likely will have no clue about that. Some people will, engage with me and tell me stories and so forth, but most people I'm not going to know. Um, that's very compelling to me and
mhm,
exciting. And I think what it does for us as creators and entrepreneurs and those who have this sort of burning desire to share, but also this fear, is that it helps coax us forward a little bit more. And again, when we have your confidence building tools in our hip pocket, we're more willing to set out on that journey. We're more willing to go into the woods because we've got the Cravotta guidebook that is helping us steer through the bushes and the briars and the gremlins. Tell me a little bit about how you go about naming frameworks. And I want to use our own personal experience working together as part of your answer because, as you well know, I was in the weeds with trying to describe this process that I take my entrepreneur clients through. And you came up with through this incredible process. It was so much fun to watch this phrase that has just become kind of my clarion call and my clients' clarion call. So you helped me name the Creative Rebels Voyage. Talk to me about how you got there and what it is about how you approach this work of articulating what it is that somebody is bringing out into the world, how you actually create that safe space and then let that rise to the surface. And when it lands, there's a river of electricity that goes through our bodies when we're on it. We just know it.
yeah, you know. Um, well, you really taught me a lot about my own creativity because in my family of origin, my older brother is an incredible photographer, like world class photographer. So he was, and he has been since he was a child. Like somebody put a camera in his hand when he was like 5 years old, and he knew what he was going to do for the rest of his life. And there was just no space for anybody else to be creative. So I never considered myself to be creative. I was the practical one. I was the one that could do damn good laundry. I can cook. I can, like I was the one that like held everything together. I was the doer, the fixer, but I wasn't the creative one. And I never realized how creative my work was until I worked with you.
Oh,
And but my process is like when I'll just use when working with you as an example. Um, I view all of this creative work, and it's one of the reasons I love to work with authors, as a birth, because
mm,
you're literally birthing something. And when that after that birth happens, there's this liminal space, and it needs attention. And most people do not pay attention to that space. And you were in that space when we met, and you had all of these wonderful things that were silos, but nothing was connected. And
true.
this was frustrating you. So what I do is I take these silos And I start to make these, and I do this virtually. So the strings that, I test the bridges between these silos and you, these silos and each other, these silos and the audience. And a big part of what I do is audience development and figuring out where your audience is, what they care about, what they talk about, what they read, the podcast they're on, the podcast they listen to. All of those things are, information points. And I play with putting these pieces together almost like puzzles, and things. I get ideas. When I get ideas, I write them down. When I get that shock, I get that shock. I get that hair up the back of my neck. I mean, I've even had one client where I felt wings sprouting down my arms. But I listen to what my body is telling me, because it's seeing things before I'm seeing them. And then I use tools. So I'm using Google, I'm using these different search tools, SEO tools. I like rip them apart looking for different things, and then finding, and then, I just piece things together. And then once I have a list of possible names, then we start doing the IP work. Is anybody else using it? Are there any conflicts? Are the domains available? Is somebody posting on social media with the same name, like with some unsavory type things that you might don't want to be part of? So all of those things come into play. And then once I have a short list, I kind of, role play them with the client and see what their reactions are. Because it's not my work, it's your work. I'm finding the opportunities, and all of that work I do, those are the gateways to the opportunities, to the doors that get open for you. But
Mhm.
if you're not interested in it, it doesn't mean anything. So, like, I always like to do these on Zoom, because I want to see, because it could be a facial expression, it could be the way your shoulders are. I'm watching your body language, I'm watching what you do, I'm watching if you're paying attention, if you're starting to check the messages on your phone. Or that moment when the eyes roll back into the back of your head together. Um, but all of those are information points, and and when we came up with the Creative Rebels Voyage, when I came to you, I had about a list of maybe 20
Mhm.
names, and we went back and forth with them, and that was the one that hit.
Mhm.
And then, it just pulled everything together, and then you had an entirely different um, emotion behind what you were doing, because you were able to be a leader. You were able to lead people behind this phrase, behind this movement. And that's when it does become these silo change from being silos of things that are randomly cool to a movement that people can get behind.
Well, it was fascinating to me to watch how we had these, as you say, silos of information and things that I was doing with clients and approaches and all this research that I had been doing for, at that time, I think it was 12 years in innovation and creativity. And you were able to peer into the cauldron over my shoulder and see these individual ingredients and connect the dots among all of them, which then elevated the entire framework. It went from one thing without the connecting threads and the powerful name to something new entirely, which also just really sparked my own ideation and my own intuition about what else it could be, which was so powerful in the book writing process to have that.
Yeah.
And then the process of writing the book took it even further and into a different direction, um, in a more rich direction, because I had this incredible foundation.
Mhm.
I would love for you to share your screen and share a few examples of some of the work that you have done with your clients.
Now, I'm just gonna give a little disclaimer here, because I have done this kind of work for a very long time, and I've worked with authors and speakers we've been talking a lot about authors because that's where my real passion is, but many authors are also speakers, and it's the same work, it's the same conversation. But I felt very strongly that I couldn't share my prior work in this new iteration of my business. So I don't have a whole lot yet, but it's
That's
coming.
fine.
Yeah, but it's coming. All right, so I'm going to share screen and
Then I'll let you in.
okay, I'm going to share two different clients that I'm working with now. The first one that I'm going to share is kind of like I'm going to actually show you my process and how
Okay.
I do this, and I'm going to share this. The first client that I'm going to share is a business therapist, and she helps people avoid bringing their trauma into their businesses.
Oh.
And hers is still a work in progress, so I'm putting together the template for her video. It's a mixtape. Remember
Oh,
mixtapes?
fun.
So
Fun.
what happened was when I started to work with these clients, one of them wanted a speaker reel, and she sent me all of her information for a speaker reel, but what she had wasn't enough, and it wasn't going to be a powerful speaker reel. So I was like, she had some other great stuff. She had like media interviews, like on air media interviews, and thousands of podcasts to go through, and she had all of this great information. And I was like, well, what if we just made it like a mixtape? And she was like, a mixtape? Yes, a mixtape. So now, I mean, these could be done. It could be a brand story. It could be a story about a behind the scenes process in your business. It could be a story about your event or a program or a service that you provide. And I was even thinking it could be a great, something great for a mission or a cause or a
Mm.
nonprofit where you tell the story of the impact that's made. Actually, a friend of mine works for this nonprofit called Miles for Migrants, where they collect airline miles as donations,
Oh, wow.
and they help people that are in, you know, often dangerous situations get to safety. Immigration situations get to safety, and I'm going to do I'm going to do a tape, a mixtape for them, sharing when they reunite families. So sharing
Oh my god.
montages of when the families are reunited.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So the mixtape, just so I understand, is this all audio or is it video on there as well?
It's video, audio, it's a combination. I'll show you as we're going through,
Okay.
but, this is the template that I use, and I create this in Canva. So while I'm showing you this, start to think about, like, how can this be repurposed? What else could you use this for? Because a big part of what I'm doing is I want to empower people where they
Yeah.
can take whatever I create for them and turn it into 10 other things.
Wh Well, what stands out to me right away, even without even seeing it, is, if we have a tape like this that we can give to a VA, and
Mhm,
they can then make little slices for social media from it, little, reels on Instagram, whatever it is, and freeing us up. So that social media content is really
yeah,
telling our story for us in these little bite-sized pieces, which is the way people want to consume it.
mhm,
Um, but I love also this idea for people who are starting out, who are maybe they have a book, but they're not really they haven't built their speakers platform yet. They haven't gotten a lot of experience yet. This gives them something as a demo
mhm,
to attract clients who would like to hire them for presentations. So I love it. I love
yeah.
it.
Yeah, and I always will want to work with original content as much as possible because it's better and it makes a deeper connection. But I'm also kind of freakishly good at picking stock. So wherever there's a gap, I find either stock image or stock video and I put it in there. And I've got accounts in all different sites where I, find really good stuff. So, that's also, up levels what you're using too, because most people don't do that. They find stuff that's just downright scary.
Right, right.
Okay, I'm gonna share.
Okay.
Give me one moment. Okay, can you see my screen?
I see it. Yes.
All right, so this is Stephanie. She's an integrative hypnotist, and well, actually, you know what? I didn't want to share her first. Wait 1 minute. This is Nicole's, and she has not even seen this yet. So she had really good content from speaking on the stage and podcast interviews. So this is going to be a mixtape for her, but it's more leaning towards a speaker reel. And one of the questions that she asks is, "Are you in love with your business?" Because she has a course called Love Your Business School, and she teaches people how to fall back in love with their business by overcoming the trauma that they brought into their business that often happened in childhood. So, I haven't, this is not fully built out. I don't have this is just the images. I don't have the, um, the content that she's going to read over this in
Mhm.
yet. And for people that don't want to do their own voiceover on their videos, I also have professional voice artists that we can bring in and do the reading for you. Some people don't want to do their own voiceover. So here she is on a beautiful stage, and then one of these are the topics that she talks about: inner kiddo to CEO, how to love your business, how to be a courageous leader, and healing relationship with money. So for each one of these topics, which you can see, this one is the one that we're going to talk about now because it's standing out. There's a couple of slides. She's talking about a little, talking points about each one. And then the next one is, and these are videos. So if you click on them, and these are stock videos. So this is Love Your Business, and this is how to be a courageous leader, and healing your relationship with money. And here, like, I just to give you a little behind the scenes in my brain, is like I chose this because she's working from home. She's
Mhm.
obviously pregnant. She's rubbing her belly, which tells you that she's thinking about, like, life is about to change, right? So, that's thoughts. Money is definitely something that comes into play when your life is about to change as drastically as having a child. And then we
Yes.
roll into, podcasts. So, we have a representation of some of the podcasts that she's been on, and some of the media that she's been in. Um, she's shows up as a guest expert. She's been certified in Brene Brown's Daring Way and Dare to Lead. So, and she was a therapist for 18 years and has been trained as a coach. So, she's got the chops to take people through their trauma. She didn't take a weekend course.
Right.
And then, like, we go into her programs now. So Love Your Business School, Do No Harm, the Three Whys, the Money Mindset. Those are four of her programs, and then we do the same process again. We'll do a little bit about conversation about each one, and you see how this is Nicole, and this is her mug. So she's given me her assets, and I'm mixing them in with stock. So that's Nicole, and on the next one, this is Nicole speaking in front of a room. So she's hosting a business intensive about her Do No Harm program, and here she's walking on the stage and talking about the three whys, which are the three whys that you really need to respond to in your business. And then here she is talking about money mindset on a podcast. So you're getting this feeling that she's having this conversation in various places. And then when you swing back to the stock, these are the people that are being impacted by her work. And then she's written a book. So I pulled 5-star reviews from her Amazon, or she provided me with testimonials about the book. And then we have some just random stuff at the end that I'm still working on because it's still a work in progress. So that's Nicole's, and these end up being like anywhere between like 3 to 5 minutes, 5 minutes tops.
Mhm.
I really try not to make them that long. Um, and so this one is now been. Oh, let me just flip back here for a second. So this is created in Canva in a presentation, which is like a Canva's version of PowerPoint.
Mhm.
It could be as easy as file, um, make a copy, and then you could resize it to anything. So you can resize it to Instagram posts and have how many there are, 30 slides in here. So that will give you 30 posts. And I mean, like, just this one alone, like, you can put this up as a reel. This is a video. It's
Mhm.
a video because I put a video in the background. So you can turn this into a reel that you put up your stories, and it's about your book. So that's a really easy way to repurpose it. So now I'm going to swing back to Stephanie. Once we get the whole process approved through the client, we move this into a video format, and I'll show you what it looks like in a video.
I'm Stephanie D'Alfonso, and my voice has been a guide for people for over 30 years. It started way before podcasts, back in the 1980s, when I was celebrity radio DJ Stevie Knox. Then, my own struggles with anxiety and sleep issues led me to begin researching holistic and scientifically proven ways to calm stress and anxiety and learn how to sleep well again.
I'm just going to fast
The
forward a little.
well-being of their employees and providing the support for them to learn how to calm stress and sleep better inspires me. As you build resilience, you're not only learning how to buffer the anxiety you may already
fight or flight.
try a few of the techniques and
can
find
start
which
calming you
ones received a life-saving liver transplant almost 20 years ago.
Okay, that's still a work in progress, but you get the idea.
I love these. You get such a good understanding of who these people are, which I think is the ongoing challenge for authors and speakers to really let people not only know what our messaging is, but who we are as individuals, what's unique about us, what we're passionate about. That's very alluring when we can be clear and authentic with that kind of messaging. And so the work that I'm seeing that you have just shown is such a great way for people when you're whatever you're launching, to have all of these assets at your fingertips. And I can see you can keep repurposing, using them for different clients or pitches or whatever it is, social media, to really get your messaging out in the way that is completely in alignment with who you are.
Yeah, and that last one we're still working on. Like we're fine-tuning the music and the transitions, and we're going to get finalized later today. But in the end, if you go to my website, you'll see some finished product there.
Okay.
But it's simple, it's clear, it's useful in so many applications, and it just makes all of this work easier.
Well, what a breath of fresh air. And what an incredible oxygen mask for all of us authors and speakers who are struggling with finding this doorway into this portal that can oftentimes seem very confusing and unknown to us. And so before we wrap up, is there anything that I have not asked you that you'd love to cover or comment on? And also tell us, in addition to, we've got your website up on the screen, tell us how folks can get in touch with you.
I just to me, this has all just been a fascinating experiment because I've done this forever. I mean, like before I even started my business, I worked in a law firm and I was doing this, and I don't even remember what it was called. Like old, we were talking 1980s, 1990s. I was like literally cutting and pasting things together with Scotch tape. But it's so needed because the only way that you're really going to connect with people online is by telling your story. And telling it and knowing where these people are, and and being the voice that they hear through all of the noise and the static and the hostility that is online. And I've always wanted in my own business to work with a lot of people in a way that was sustainable for me without having a big team, because
Mhm.
single mom world here, my son is in college. I don't need to be toting along a lot of people with me at this point. And I've never been able to find that secret sauce. I've always felt like I was at 11 o'clock, but this feels like I could really make this happen and be the solution, not only for my clients, but for myself.
Mhm. Well, it's 360 degrees of magic, which is a complete reflection of you. And I know it's going to be incredibly successful. I can speak firsthand, well, how much fun it is, first of all, to work with you, but also how engaging it is to tap into a part of your creativity, a part of your voice, a part of your willingness to step forward in a brand new way, and how that powers everything that you do in your business uniquely. So we appreciate you, and I'm so glad that you had some time to share your work with us today. Thank you so much for being with me.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and I'm thrilled to be able to share this. Another part of what I want to do with this is I want to build a big referral network
Hmm.
for two reasons. One is because I want to be able to refer all, quality people to, all of the different to cover all of the different things that need to be done in a business. And two, I don't want to do it. I want to stay in my lane.
I get that for sure. Well, and having this group, this community of people who where somebody's genius is, and how to completely connect somebody with that needed resource, which you have done for me, as a matter of fact, on multiple occasions. So it's wonderful because as entrepreneurs, we are oftentimes isolated. We're working alone. Or if we have a team, maybe it's a team that we don't physically work with, especially nowadays. So it's lovely to have this community. So I love your idea of
Yeah.
having this circle of the Cravotta circle of referrals. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that part of this, and I've started, laying the groundwork for that. And I just want to be able to support the people that are creating, that are making an impact, that are changing the world. And it takes a village.
It absolutely does. Well, I cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much for being such a soul sister and such a great entrepreneurial wizard and a dear friend. I'm so glad that we had this time together. And you are definitely a big part of this little beauty, which is my book, which will be out in September, but you can certainly pre order it now. You can go on to Amazon or any place where you order your books, or you can go onto my website, which is on the bottom of your screen, and you can pre order it. I'm also doing some pretty groovy book bonuses for folks who pre order, including for every book that you order, you get a chance up to 100 entries. You get a chance to win a trip to Paris. So go onto my website and have a look at that, because some lucky person is going to Paris in December. But thank you again, Miss Donna. Again, here is her website. Go to her website and check out all the great work that she's doing. And thank you again, everybody, for being with us.
Thank you. Have a
Take
great
care. Bye bye.